Yeah, today I just want to, in a relaxed form, tell you about how we came about this whole idea of the training, retreat and the training. I'm sure, of course, you know, because yesterday I did a presentation to you and told you about the crisis we'll be going through. What happened was that the American crisis, the economic meltdown that happened in America affected Ukraine big time. It affected the whole world, I heard. So, and of course, Satan was very smart this time. he was able to get me, and in the sense that one of the companies of our business, of one of the businessmen from the church collapsed. And it was a big company, financial company, that had investments of people. Bentley from our church and people outside. So when the thing collapsed, people knew that, you know, people from the church lost money, and this person was coming to the church. The government used that to say, well, Pastor Sunday must be connected. So for 2 years, they've been looking for the connection. They couldn't establish it up to now. But they are now embarrassed to go back, to back out. Because it's a communist regime, they don't admit fault. So it has to be, so they are now cooking it up. So anybody that has any problem, they tell them, you want your problem to go? Come write a letter, come write a petition against Pastor Sunday. So they have people who have written petitions that he pushed us, who told us, he hypnotized us, he made us to do this. So we have a lot of guys. So that's what they're now using. Because it's not just, you know, but normally by the orders of the law, it's supposed to be some documents or something. But now they don't have anything, so they are using people's stuff. So, and unfortunately in this country there is no jury, where they don't, only one judge. And what the government tell, or people who are in power will tell the judge, or who pay money, is what the guy does, you know. So that's why I wanted to need to go to court myself before, but because of that manipulation they are doing, we just need God to intervene, even that it shouldn't go to the hand of the ungodly, for them not to. But they have gone on TV. Anyway, so in the last 2 years, because of the investigation, I couldn't leave the country. I've not left Ukraine now for 2 years. So when all that was happening, and it was a soul-searching moment for me, in the sense that because first of all, when the government or the police came out and said, if you don't want to lose your money, you know, come and sign some papers. And the papers was saying that, you know, incriminate Pastor Sunday, and some people went and signed it. So I was so surprised that some of them were even from the church, but they left the church and they went and signed so that they would not lose money. So I said, how could human nature be so evil? Somebody who saved your life, somebody who helped you, somebody who helped you so much, made you who you are. How could you go and now sign petition against or write petition against that person? And you hear the government saying their plan is to put him in prison for 12 years, and you owe your very life to this person. So I was like, okay, when unbelievers do that, it's okay. But how could people who are supposed to be born again who are in church do that? Then later on, I also discovered that, you know, because of the threats that are coming from everywhere, some people who are my pastors, we lost 5 pastors from Kiev. We had 25 pastors at churches. 5 of them withdrew and left and took the churches with them. So, but that's not a big deal, because we don't have place in our church, because we're already giving them independence before. So that's the way we operate, before they even could think about it. So they just left because we remain in embassy, but just through love and fellowship, through network, not by constraints or something. So, but they were living, then some of them were also giving testimonies against the church and against me. Mainly using the fact that pastor was teaching on economic empowerment and economic, you know, investments, that if he didn't teach, people would not even give money in the first place. So you are trying to say that's what led to people, you know, losing their money. So people give testimony, petitions, which is true, you know, I'm not denying that. But the way government has done it is that even though the company was recognized by the court, not as a scheme, but as a bankruptcy situation. But still, the government said, but people lost money. So, not the government, but some forces, you know, you have opposition, you have government, you have people in the parliament, you have different groups in any country, you have different. So, but these people are responsible for this kind of thing. Anyway, when I began to see believers, how believers behave, that is what touched me. What the government is doing and the police and investigators, that doesn't really, it's not a big deal for me. But how believers are behaving. And then, okay, I was not responsible for believers from other churches. But those were also doing their own. But what concerned me, what really touched me was, how can people that I was investing my life in for so long, of course not all of them, but even I thought that nobody in my church would be, every pastor is always thinking the best about his church. So I thought no one from my church would be, will be so, I don't know, so callous to do something like that. But not just one person, not just two persons. Maybe we lost in the process. Maybe, we used to have 25,000 people in Kyiv. We probably have at least 2,000 people. As a result, because it's everyday pressure coming from the TV, television, radio, everywhere. Every day people talking about us. And people saying we're going to prison for 12 years, it's a felony. Felony for 12 years, felony against him. So, not too many, and then parents and relatives say, if you go to that church, go get away from our home, we reject you. Some people just leave for other churches. People just leave for that. And then they say, you go to that church, some people will attack you in the city when they hear that you go to that. So it's a real price, big price to pay to come to the church. But still, I thought we have people matured enough to withstand all that. So you don't really know people until they come under pressure. You don't really know who people are or what is in their heart until they need to pay a price for it. When things are good, when things are going well, everybody is around you, come to church, you think they're all right. And you're looking at them, you think everybody is the same. But it's not always like that. Hey man, I want to encourage you to take notes. So if you need to take your notebook and your pen, get on that. The thing I'm saying now is the beginning, but I will get into some things that you need to take notes. So that you don't begin to round about later on. That's why I'm warning you now. So anyway, I was not traveling, but I discovered now that was a major blessing from God. The fact that I was not traveling for 2 years, I began to pray and wait upon God the whole year. The first year, I was just praying and wanted to find out the mind of God. Then I discovered very fast that God didn't want me to travel as much as I used to travel before. That was good news because I was killing myself traveling everywhere. Too many invitations. I had 3 invitations 3 years ahead. And I couldn't, I was refusing a lot of them. I couldn't refuse all of them. But since I was now restrained from traveling, it was easy to tell people, I can't travel. And everybody began to understand. So it was a big lesson for me that without you, life goes on. So that's a big lesson. Then another lesson I gained from that was that, of course, my wife was happy. My wife and children, they are the best. They are happy for it. But it also afforded me the time to seek God deeply. So I began to do some soul searching and finding out what is really happening. I wanted to know. I wanted to really know how has God been looking at my sacrifice, my service, and my ministry. How does God see my ministry so far? You know the conclusion I came to? I came to the conclusion that even though Embassy of God Church is the biggest church in Europe, and actually is rated as one of the top 10 churches in the world. So even though this is one of the fastest growing churches in the world as well, even though this is one of the, all those things sound nice, and I have seen it before I began to travel. I've traveled in less than, maybe in about 5 years, I traveled to about 48 countries. And I've seen it all. And I discovered that, I was surprised. And it humiliates me to admit this, that it not just humbles me, it's humiliation. In the sense that the state of the body of Christ is so bad. The state of the church is so bad that our church here, which I wouldn't think was a big deal, I discovered that I didn't see anything close to it, even by kilometers, in all the places I've traveled to. Great churches are there, but very few kingdom churches. Now, this is with all humility. Don't think it's bragging or something. This is just real fact that I came to. You cannot keep quiet about it. And it's painful. Because then how are we planning to win the war? If that is true, then what is really happening with the body of Christ? That's a tragedy. If you could not point out to at least 1,000 of churches like this. I couldn't even find one, talk less of 100, talk less of 10. So that's a big tragedy and it's very sad. So that's what I discovered traveling all over the world. So what I'm saying is, as good as I thought our church was, and not just me thought, as good as we are compared to other churches. But you see, in the day of judgment, it's not in comparison with other churches God is going to judge you. It's in comparison with His expectations. Yeah, that's when the pain comes. You know what I discovered? I'd only achieved I've only achieved 1 to 2% of what everything you've seen so far, not now though, at least before last year, everything we had achieved for the past 15 years is just less than 2% of God's expectation.
2 out of 100.
Huh?
2 out of 100.
Yes, 2 out of 100. 2 out of 100. 1 to 2%. 2 is generous, maybe 1%. And God opened my eyes to see. You see, one of the greatest favors God could do for you is to open your eyes to see your real estate. Not in your eyes, but in His eyes.
Yeah.
It's like thinking that you are a world champion and then you discover that you are just a village champion. You become a local champion. Everything you are bragging yourself of is just nonsense. So that was a very painful discovery, and I soon discovered that is true, because today I will be bold to tell you that the truth is that the format of churches that we have all over the world, which is normally pulpit ministry, or preaching, teaching, or whatever you call it, from the pulpit, right? That will only deliver one, maximum 2% result. And pastors know what I'm talking about, in the sense that we come to the pulpit sometimes and you have received this revelation from God, and you know God gave you that revelation, and you're thinking, and I'm sure some of you have heard this, ministers will come to the pulpit and say, this message, it will change your life. This revelation, if you just listen, you have to be in church tomorrow. You have to be in church today. This message will change your life. This service, this message, this revelation, and you yourself have prayed, fasted, and you are loaded. And you think, after this message, that church will never visit. And you went and delivered. And people say, wow, what a great message. Wow, pastor, we've never seen you like that. Oh, no. That was one of the best messages I've ever had. That was a revelation. It was deep. But by the next Sunday, they are expecting another one. They are telling you, come on, about to perform. They release another revelation. Let's go now. Oh, that was good. Good message, Pastor. And you were, as what the pastor was expecting was that you were going to change, that the church was going to change. You know what happens to the church, what the church does? The church looks forward for the next Sunday. So for another greater revelation. For another yet, but it's remained the same. They're just the same people looking at you. And the best that message has done is that it has gotten them more excited. Wow, I'm going to invite my friends. I must come back next Sunday. That is the best you've got. But people have not changed. They have not become Christ-like. They have not become revolutionaries. They have not gone out to change the world. They are sitting down there looking at your eyes. That is why that kind of ministry that we have been practicing in the body of Christ, if you are so good as a preacher, and you know, I am not the worst of the preachers. I tell you, I know how to communicate, and God helps me with that. If I could get maximum 2%, and we still had the bigger church in Europe, in the country, the next church to our church, even after our own crisis, is still about 5 times smaller than ours. So we are still good, but that is in the eyes of men. And I could feel it. When God told me that, I could feel it. That the resources, the material, the grace and the revelation and the trust that He has given me, it's to measure it. What I'm saying is true. God is right. It's just 1 or 2% of what I feel from inside is coming. And the sacrifice that I've made. And can you imagine that for 15 straight years, I will go away every month, lock myself for 1 week, no wife, no children, no office, no church, praying for 10, 15 hours a day for a week, every single month like that. Despite all that, people, the church grows, all that, but that is not what, you want to change the world. So the result I'm having is just 1 or 2% of all the resources God has given me, and even the efforts I put inside. And I think that most pastors will tell you, compared to the efforts they have put inside, that the result is not more than 1 or 2%. So I discovered something was the model we've used so far, at least for me, it doesn't work. So this my crisis is that giving, but I began to pray, seek the face of God, and that's how many things were birthed. And this, one of the things that was given birth to is this training we are in right now. I'm not just doing this for you guys. I'm doing this 2-3 times every month for my people. This program you're having right now. But this is just one of it. I will show you all that stuff that God opened my eyes to see. So my crisis here in Ukraine, I believe God allowed it for me to hear Him and for me to see the reality of my awful state and pitiful condition before this crisis. So this crisis has really helped me. Instead of me thinking I was doing well and being deceived by the accolades, I'm now seeing how God saw me. And now I could say, my God, help me to fix it. How can I fix it? So if I say 2% was my best, 2% for 15 years I got 2% result. So it means 98% lost. So where am I losing this 98% output? Where am I losing it? Where have I lost it? Where do we lose it anyway? Where is it going? Yeah, go ahead. If you want to go out. Please go ahead. Oh, you finished reading the book?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So where do we lose it? What I discover through my meditations and prayers and seeking God is this. Number one, and one of the other things one of the reasons why this low result is this. And some of you will agree. And some of you will find this shocking. But I couldn't believe it. If somebody has told me this about my church, I would have said it's not true. But I actually went and conducted a poll in the church. And I discovered that it was true. It's shocking, but listen. I discovered that only 5% of the people who come to church come from God. No, that is, you people took it slightly, but for me, that was a big, I would have thought, no, not in my church. That was a major, major shock.
So we did a survey.
I did a survey, yes. I did a survey asking people, I did a poll, conducted a poll, survey, asking people, why do you think, why do you come to church? What do you really want to receive in church? What do you want to get in church? Why do you keep on coming back to church? Most people say, oh, because we have a great leader, or a great pastor, a great church. Most people say, oh, because I know this church is where my needs are going to be met. Oh, this church is where, God is going to touch me. Oh, this church is where I'm going to fulfill my vision. Oh, this church is where God is going to show me my destiny. It's all egocentric, all those things I'm saying. A great pastor, it's just like I'm an actor. If you are coming to church because you are going to have trouble. Oh, he's the man of revelation. Oh, anointed man of God. I said, my God, tragedy, don't eat. Palava don't come. I said, my trouble has arrived. Those were days of sorrow for me. I'm breaking. So I discovered that only about 5% was able to say, I come to church just to know him and to discover him. So what about if there were no miracles in this church, no great preaching, no great pastor, you people will not be here, man. That was the brutal truth that I ran into. Not too many people will still go to your church if God were not doing anything, just to go because they love. 95% of the people who come to church come for themselves. Something they could get for themselves. Something that could tickle them. Something that could make them feel good. Something that could entertain them. Something that could meet their needs. It's everything they are saying was all connected to that. Either through the pastor or through their troubles or through their challenges. They just want to get something for themselves. Egocentric people. And that is why we the bishop was talking today about egocentric church and kingdom church. Yeah. So, like I said, so in that kind of situation, when 95% of people come for self, no matter the kind of message you preach, they are using it they are converting it to meet their own needs. They are looking at it through the prism of, what they need, what they could get from it. So they are analyzing your words and taking the one they need inside. The one they don't need, they just do pretend and say, yeah, pastor, you are doing great. So I began to think, pray, and what are the things that I discovered? Because the reason why I was shocked personally was that I am not like that. I got saved watching TV. But it was a painful discovery for me to discover that the truth is that most people are not like Pastor Sunday. But in my ignorance, I had thought any born-again Christian who is genuinely saved will just be like Pastor Sunday. Hungry, passionate, ready to go all the distance, pay the price. There are people like that, but not too many. In my situation, nobody needs to encourage me to do anything. Nobody needs to tell me to do anything. Nobody needs to tell me to study the Bible, wake up in the morning, or seek God, or fast, or pray. Everything I've ever done, I discovered them myself and I did them. I didn't never have a teacher or a mentor or a ruler or, saved 6 months by watching TV. Attended churches for a few times. Left the country, came to Russia. Everything has been by my initiative. And I've been living alone as a person since 15 years old. Without father, no mother, nobody, just myself. So that has been my kind of attitude. But I didn't know that these things have contributed to who I am. I just thought I got saved and it was salvation that did it. And that everybody that gets saved They are radical like that. But I think maybe it's also connected with, are the Africans not like that? Maybe it's because it's Europe. Are Africans not everybody radical when they get sick? They are not like that. Not like that. Because I was thinking maybe it's the Europeans that are different or what, or African. So I just don't. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I just go, and not everybody is like me for some reason. Maybe, yeah, I'm sure there are people like that. So what I discovered is that for this percentage to get higher, so I said we lost 98%. 50% of this percentage, of this 98% that is lost, depends on the individual Christian. I don't know if you get it. 2% they get from the pulpit, but to retain out of what you've given, they lose. Members lose 98%. Only 1 to 2% they retain. So what does it depend on? Where did we lose this 98%? How can we regain it? It depends. 50% of this 98% depends on the efforts of the individual. So remaining how many percent? How many percent are we left with? 48. Alright? Now, out of that 48, 40% of the results and effectiveness of the members, 40% out of this depends on factors of pain. Pain. Or, no, let's leave it like that. Factors of pain. The thing that causes people to want to learn, to want to keep what they've learned, to want to retain, to want to pay the price, is the most effective of it all is pain. When people don't fall into situations of pain, they don't put the effort in. They don't. If they don't need to, only about few people, maybe the ones that are self-motivated, that in this, only those who are able to, because they are used to doing it. And normally, those people that are self-motivated are only 3%. Out of these 50 something, only 3% are self-motivated and go for it in life. Others are just crowd, and they just want to do the least and minimum, and just to get by. Just to get by. And it's so unfortunate. So we must help them. So now we have how much left? 8% left. And the 8% that is left it comes from outside camp. Outside camp. So it could be maybe the church has put some things in place, like home groups, systems, homeworks, accountability, things like that. So how did I decide to tackle this problem? How did I decide to tackle this problem? So as to increase the result and the output of the teachings and the efforts I put in the church from 1% or from 2%, at least maybe to 50% result. You guys are so tired, eh? Or something is happening to you. It's like you are either you are sleeping or tired. Huh?
Pain.
Pleading for mercy. Yeah?
We are believing God for mercy.
Oh, you are good. You seem to be good. His eyes are open. Most eyes are no more open. He's guilty, right? Yeah. Okay, so how did I decide to resolve this problem in our church? I decided to use, bearing in mind what we decided to do is this. I decided that you are feeling bad, right? Are you sick? You have a health issue? You have health problem, health issues? A leg problem with your leg or your back? Yes. Any health issue?
Yeah, I have a leg problem.
But actually that problem was from to her. Not to you.
Just enduring it. Thinking that you will show mercy.
But pain is the biggest.
40%.
You saw it there. Pain is the biggest teacher. But read the book, read the book. Some people have read the book. Just keep on reading it. When you finish, you see. Because you will not learn. So what I discovered is that I must apply there's something we call factors of success. Factors of success. Or 3 factors of success. One is knowledge. These things are universal. 2 is character. 3 is environment. Surrounding. So, to put it in perspective, what this is talking about is that this is not my statistic. This is universal. This is scientific conclusion. So, hello, don't talk now. You get yellow card for that, or red card for that. So, scientific conclusion says 10%. Only 10% of knowledge is responsible for success. Only 10% of knowledge. So no matter how much knowledge you have, that's just 10%. If you have knowledge and you don't have character, most likely that knowledge will not take you far. Character, therefore, is 40%. It plays 40% role in success. But what really shocked me was not that, because most people know about character, especially Christians. But what shocked me the most was the fact that, you won't believe it, environment and surrounding is stronger than character, even. So environment, factors of success, environment plays 50% in factors of success.
Wow, that's nice.
Is that not amazing? Yes. So the reason is because the Bible says, God knew this before the scientists discovered it. It says that bad company, or how does it say? Corrupt good. Is that bad company corrupt good manners? So it means manners is talking about character. So it means you could have good manners, you could be well trained, but if you hang out with the wrong guys, it will affect you, and you will not survive it. Only few people are able to survive it. So the same thing with where you live. If you live in some environment, okay, for example, if you live in Africa, you think in a certain way. Yeah. Even though you are smart, or you are not foolish, or you know a lot. But if you live in Europe, you think in a certain way. Or in America, or somewhere, you think differently. Even though you are Nigerian by birth, Nigerian blood in you, the environment is very powerful. So, for example, you could be very smart. You could be the smartest engineer that finished at university. But if you don't find yourself in an academic environment or in an environment where they practice, engineering, you will discover that even though you are smart, like in Africa, many people finish engineering school and they are just roaming about the street. But if you find yourself in an academic environment, in an engineering situation, you will be the best. Even if you didn't finish the best, even if you didn't know much, the environment itself creates you. Are you following me?
Yeah, it's good.
So you might have character, good character, but and good knowledge. But if the environment doesn't encourage you, I mean, people who come from Africa know what I'm saying. When I was in Africa, I was below average. National, maybe not. I won a scholarship. So. Just to say I was not the best. I don't think I was the best because I was just a regular guy from small village there. But there's guys who are better than I think, I suppose. But still, I was nobody in Africa anyway. I didn't have the best I could have in Africa was slippers like that. I didn't have shoes. I was nobody in Africa. But when I got an environment that gave me the opportunity, I was able to. The environment is important. If I had remained in Nigeria, I wouldn't have even gone to university because I got admission to a top university in Nigeria. Guess what? I couldn't go. Environment. So I stayed 1 year at home, working for 100 naira, trying to sew bags. But despite all my work, environment. That environment could have killed me. Environment is important. So that's 50%. For example, you say you are called to become a businessman, right? If you are called to be a businessman and you are by yourself, you struggle, it could take you forever to become a millionaire. But even if you are not called to be a businessman, but you are just in the environment of where people are making millions, they just say, oh, bring that back. Okay, we'll give you 1% of the shares. We'll give you something. You are not even called or anything. Because environment talks about opportunities. You are there where opportunities are being created. They just give you one share here, 10% here, 1% here. That's it. So environment talks about opportunities. But if you don't have opportunities, no matter how gifted, no matter what golden character you have, nobody to help you. Nobody to give you a hand. That is what this environment here is doing for you. You know what I did? The first thing I came across, the first thing I invented, the first thing that I knew, if my members of the church, members of my church don't look like me, if they are only producing 2% result, I must create the kind of environment where I myself I am living in. They don't live in my environment. That's the biggest discovery of my life in this crisis. I discovered that the church is not the environment people live in. They just come visit for 3 hours or 2 hours and go back home. They are invited. The way I live like this. So these 3 days is an effort. How did I come across it? It's an effort to create my regime, my daily routine. Or what do you call it? My regiment. My daily regiment is an effort to create my daily regiment for my people to follow. That's what we've done. Wow. It is just an effort. It is just an effort to recreate my daily regiment for people to follow. Because I said they are not like me because they don't live like me. If they live like me, passionate like me, focused like me, if they really live like me, they think like me, their attitude is like mine, they will be different. They will not have that kind of result. You know what I discovered, friends? We think our members are angels and that they live by what we teach them. If they don't see how we live, they don't live like that. So that is how I came about this retreat. Wow. So I said I will bring them to my own house. Sorry?
This is the lab.
Lab, yeah. So it's like a laboratory. So it's like a lab where people are supposed to live in my environment. And at least to introduce them to that for 3 days. So that they could choose now to pursue that if they want to become somebody of significance. Then I began to study the lives of all the biographies of all the great men. I discovered that all of them have intensive lifestyle. All of them live like this. intense. They are driven. And I know that I must teach my people. That is how we come across retreat. We call it retreat. But for you foreigners, we don't call it retreat because retreat in your own language is something different. Yes. So we call it history makers training for you people. So don't think about coming for a retreat. To have some tea and some So what I did was, first of all, so I used these factors of success. These three factors of success to build structures. I built structures around these three truths. So what I did was, let's say 50%. I knew that stands for environment, right? Yes. So I knew I needed to create a corresponding reality. So I started retreat, right? So that is where you are now. Apart from that, I started home groups. Svetlana made a presentation about home groups, right? Everybody who was there on Monday, you remember. So we did home groups. What does home group do? Home group, my home group, they told you about my home group with 500 people. That is, it creates an environment. But I'm talking only about, we had home groups before, but I'm talking about my personal home group where I bring my own environment, my own lifestyle, my values to them. Before I used to, for the last 15 years, or for the first 15 years of my church, I only had one home group. Only my first 12. All the church, we built the church on them, on those 12 people. But now I'm having 25 groups. If you will take it by 25 people. We could say 25 home groups. So that creates environment. Then I encourage people, especially the ones I'm working with in my home groups, to go to practice solitude. And that talks also about environment. Now, what environment is solitude? Who can tell me? Yeah, what environment is that? Like, for example, the home group is an environment with Pastor Sunday. Retreat is the lifestyle of Pastor Sunday. What about solitude? Environment of God. Environment of God. To be able to immerse yourself in the environment of God, in the presence of God, in the reality of God. Because I was practicing that, but the whole church was not. Even though I said my pastor should, but some were doing it, some were not doing it. So I discovered I needed to control that. The next thing I did is I encourage practical researches. Practical research. Research.
That's the part of
knowledge?
No.
Huh? That's under knowledge?
No, it's under, you could say it's knowledge, but I put it under environment too. Because I put the whole church, my own people that I'm working with. The general church, I'm not pushing them, I'm not bothering them. But the ones that I'm working with, I'm put them under this kind of situation. Because even knowledge, which is 10%, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't become 10%, it doesn't work for you as 10% automatically. Knowledge you only retain maybe 1 to 2%. 10% is only if you work on yourself. The discipline factor. You need to work on yourself for that 10% to even be there. But 10% doesn't just come. You need to work on yourself to get that 10%. So this is environment. This is what then I also encourage people to do discussions. Discussions on the topic that you've heard in the church. You know, people just normally hear the message from church and just go to McDonald's and forget about what what they just heard. Or they just go home, oh, hello, hi, oh, nice to see you. Telephone calls, hey, I just came out of church. They've forgotten everything you taught. But if after listening to a message, you engage in a constructive discussion about what you've just heard and what you plan to do, if you the next 3 hours you still talking about that topic, it stays with you. Yeah. That's what I do. When I hear something that's interesting for the next 3 hours, I cannot talk about any other thing. I'm talking about only that thing, and it stays. Yes.
I want to please shed more light on this practical research.
Okay, practical research is the kind of thing we told you about yesterday. That when you get to learn something, you don't. Okay, for example, they said one of the works I gave you today is re-evaluation of your life, right? So I will go to the website and say, what is value in the first place? What are value systems? And what is re-evaluation? How do I do, to go for people to begin to use encyclopedia, dictionaries, everything to begin to think deep, research, search for knowledge and work on it. You understand what I'm talking about? Okay. Do you get this? Yeah. So on that 50% environment, I needed to make it flesh. This 50% must become flesh. Because knowledge of that 50%, that doesn't help anybody. I must convert it into applicable daily lifestyle. Yeah. Applicable habits and lifestyle. Wow. That's what we did. Wow. Yes.
How this translating it into times, people's time, days, how were you able to structure like the practical research? When did they do it, the discussions?
Okay, the way that we do it is this. I just gave the whole church an option. I made the whole church to realize that a new day has come. And they could see my pain. Who is that? Who took that thing, please? So we I've made them to realize my pain, to tell them the changes that are happening with me, that I've wasted my life, and I don't intend to keep on wasting my life anymore. I, for the first time in my life, understood Jesus. I have thought about it, I've written books about it, I have preached about it, I have had messages about it, that Jesus preached to the multitude and taught his disciples and spent time with his disciples. Those were theories. Until this thing hit hard, when I realized that only 1% of my work has remained. Wow. Wow. That is when I got to know that Jesus didn't spend. I was foolish. I was pouring my water and my wealth and my resources out for the masses. I was serving the body, the whole invisible, nothing concrete. Just a bunch of 10,000, 20,000 people sitting down. I've wasted my efforts, I've wasted my life on just crowd of people. Because there was no feedback. I was thinking it's by faith that I'm sowing seed. I didn't realize that I needed to be strategic. Like I was telling some of you who came over there about the farmer that went to throw those things. That I was supposed to take care of the soil. I was supposed to do that and clean it. I was not doing. I was just hoping that one of them will catch it or two of them will catch it. When you are hoping you get nothing, just catch it. It's an attempt to catch it. But you must be strategic and concrete. That's the way God created the earth to function. Life must be predictable. You must do something concrete that you know this is what will come out of it for sure. Not a guesswork kind of ministry. So what I did was I came to the church, told the whole church that no more church as you. I'm no more interested in coming to on Sunday. Now I don't go to church to preach on Sundays. On Sunday I will be here with you. I don't go to pray. Let the other guys do it. The ones I'm praying for. I lost interest in that now. I don't want to. 10,000, 100,000, it doesn't care. I don't care. I'm here every Sunday teaching to 50. Training 50 people like this. That's what gets you there. But I go once a month. to do the service just for general blessings. But not for that, that's not for you. Maybe you have not spent 15 years. When you spend 15 years, you get to that, you will grow. Because you don't need to do that now, really. That's what I mean. You can still do that, but I can afford not to do that anymore. Because I have so many people that have trained. But you do that, but be more strategic. Don't spend your whole life on that anymore. Don't just do that as the minimum. But it was the most important thing I was doing before. Even though I had leadership training and all those things, but the Sunday service was the height of the whole thing. But now it's the least for me now. It's the least of the whole thing. So what I did was I spoke to the whole church and said, everything is going to change now. I said, I want to start a training program. And I encourage all of you to come. And even that training program, I will not take everybody there. For you to even get to the training program, I will do a school for you first. So what I did was that I announced that school, prepared the whole church for it for 3 months, prepared them for the school. I said, all of you are invited. So I did a week's school every night, evenings, Monday to Friday. So, all right? So in that week, I was talking about discovering who they are, their destiny, any topic, but I just took the topic about rediscovering them, reconnecting them back to God, what really matters in life, and things like that. And I say, this time is not a school as usual. Normally I would do those kind of schools, but I never got reports back. It's just another revelation pastor has brought. So now what I did was, all of them have to give exams. Everybody that came. But it was not compulsory. I told them to give exams, but some people say, I don't have time, or I didn't have time, or I can't, or some go, I can't, I want to, but I can't. But only the ones that did, God is making me to know, the ones that give the exams, they are the ones who are obedient. The ones that give the exams, they are the ones who are hungry. Because everybody have circumstances and situations that could delay them too. But only the ones that have given exam should be given the privilege to be drawn closer. So out of that group that has done that, they are the ones who have given the exam, have put the marks there, graded them, got to know how this one is thinking, what is his stand. I never knew what they were thinking before. That's why we don't allow people to just write yes, no. You must explain, tell me your heart, you must tell me what you are living, what are your conditions, how are you going to apply it, how do you live, what are you going to do? Not just, yes, that's what you said, I'll call this. No. It has to be. So I began to see the minds of people, their condition. I read every work myself. At the time, I was reading 1,000 pages every day. That's why I was surprised at you people, 1,000 pages of work every day. Because I have a big, that. But you don't have such a big task. But so I selected those from those ones. They are now the ones who have given exams in those schools that I will invite to come to this week. They have been given the privilege to come closer to pastor, to come and see the lifestyle of pastor, to come to my house to live with me for 3 days, and then to be given and entrusted higher level of treasure. And what made Pastor Sunday tick? Before, they had always been thinking that Pastor Sunday is an anointed man of God. Oh, we all want to be like him. They want to kiss my hand. They want to make me to lay hands on them. Now, come and be like me. Let me show you how I do. That's why they come here. Then the ones who are exceptional, who give 2 schools, like their 2 works, I invite, and who got good marks, like, anything from 70% or 60%, I invite them to my home group, possible home group. So those 500 people in my home group, they are the people who have excelled above every other person. Other people gave, but didn't get excellent marks, so they wouldn't get my home group. So the ones in my home group now, I do all these things with them. So can you imagine? You cannot believe this. In 1 year, I got results that I didn't get in 15 years. Wow. Just by helping them to go from 1% to overcome to. All these things are oriented to do 50% of work on themselves. And I began to have results in government, every area. I said, God, but this thing came out of such a pain. I don't wish my enemy to go through the pain that I've gone through these last 2 years. but it has brought out something that I think will enrich the body of Christ. But this is just the environment. Then later on we'll go to the character. So the character is also, okay, can I wipe out this other one? Yes. Character is 50%, I mean character is 40%. I will allow you to say that after I do character. Character is 40%. And here also, I built a system that will allow character to be developed in people. Through what? Through compulsory solitude. Of course, all these things, I tell the church to do them also. But there are no mechanism for me to control the church, how the church, whether they are going to solitude or not, they are doing this or not. But the people in the home group, I can control them. We have journals, they are accountable. We have journals every time I'm out there. I see how they live. They are writing me exams every week, every month. So those things you saw, they are not things we do every day. Every month we do them. So they have time. For a month you could do those things. They are requirements for a month. So the next thing we do is, apart from solitude, sure, discipline to be doing it. Okay. The next one is discipline. When they are with me in my group, if you don't do some homework or you lag behind in something, you fall out. I started with 400 people. I was left with 200 initially. Then I got other ones again. So if you don't, you got removed or you go to a junior team. So discipline. I enforce discipline on them. Because without discipline, people don't attain goals. The next point. I teach them planning. Okay, you people listen to Benjamin Franklin then? Yeah. I made all my people have to go through that Benjamin Franklin program of planning. Then I made them to do homeworks. Then this retreat as well. I hope you agree that retreat here, this thing builds character as well. Yeah. Then one of the most effective things we've done is accountability. So before, I was like the Father Christmas. I was like Santa Claus, you know. Just giving out gifts, all the treasures, revelation, and they will be saying, wow, what a great revelation, wow. Just inspiration. That's it. No accountability. You don't even know what they do with the revelation. But now, if you listen to pastor, you give exams. And you prove to him what you are going to do with that message. What is your next step? Otherwise, I don't want to meet you. I don't want to know you. That's what we are trying to do here too. Remember all the messages I gave to you? You see how many works you have to do?
Yes.
If you think that you want to spend time with me, you must prove it that you desire it. I mean that you deserve it. That you are a serious person. That you are not going to waste my life. That I'm wasting my life on you, and you are just going to, spit on me, or just going to, do your own thing, run away, and just make a mess of me and my life and my time. You know how much time it takes me to get this kind of revelation. You know what pain it cost me. You know what tears, how many hours of prayer, what fasting, how many days of not eating, and you just had it. I just wrote it down in your book, and you don't even know where that book. Just have shelves of notebook that you never even opened before. That will never happen again. And that's why I will never go to preach at conference I will only go to places where they will allow me. I will give them my condition. I will not come if you will not allow me to do things like this. Amen. I don't want to waste my life anymore. So So this is what God has taught me out of all.
Oh, God.
So somebody wanted to ask a question.
Pastor, I just wanted to say to you quickly, I don't know any pastor who would share the way you're sharing right now. You're speaking from your heart. These are secrets you've paid for. And I think by faith, I'll just say on behalf of this room that we're very, very grateful for this teaching right now, because you wouldn't hear this anywhere. This is valuable, and we appreciate you opening your heart like this to us.
Yes.
Amen.
That's cost me a lot. That's cost me greatly. And that's why I want you, the best you could do for me right now is to help me pray and intercede that God should now lift the embargo. They should now lift the siege and cause me to be able to thrive and bring to the body of Christ.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm just trying to think through this and see whether it would apply in an organization like a tax body.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.